Welcome to the Golf Report podcast. I'm joined by new head women's golf coach at the University of South Florida, AJ Newell. How you doing, coach?
Doing great, great. Excited to be on. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so your team begins at Wisconsin tournament in a few weeks. You've been a coach now for a few years. We're an assistant coach at Michigan, and now you're at University of South Florida. So just as a new season begins, in a few weeks, do you always get excited, when an upcoming season is about to begin?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this summer more so than, the last couple summers for me, it's been, we've been in the office a ton this summer. We had a lot of work to do, obviously, with our roster, and we spent a ton of time on that, hiring of my assistant coach, Avery. And I'm just
Yeah.
excited to get out on the golf course with this team now. They've finally arrived into town this week.
Okay.
And, we've had a ton of Zoom calls, we've FaceTimed, we've messaged all summer, but is nothing like being in the same room with your team. And
Yeah.
getting to experience that a little bit this week has been really special. And it makes me excited for that first time we get on the road together. It's, you're with each other all day long from breakfast to dinner to time to go to bed. And you really start to get to know individuals and personalities and start to feel who we are going to be as a team, as a group together when we're on the road traveling. And I think we have a lot of very competitive individuals on our team, which is something that makes me really excited to get out and to compete at our first event of the fall. And, I do my best to always go into things with no expectations. I like to wake up every day and work really hard. And when it's time to go to the tournament, to me, that's the fun part, to go have fun and compete for South Florida and see what we can accomplish as a team.
So let's talk about this upcoming season. As we mentioned, you begin in a few weeks at Wisconsin's tournament. How does your team look this season? In your introductory press conference, I like how you said, you wanted to recruit and, keep the talent from Florida, within the state, and you did that. You signed Kenzie Heba, sorry if I said that wrong, graduate student from St. Augustine, Florida. So you already signed a player from Florida.
Yeah.
She played at West Florida, and she won two Gulf South Conference championships. And then you also signed Alice Webb, who's a junior from England, and she played at Indianapolis. So just how does your team look, going into the season? What are you looking forward to most? And, what was it like to make these, two signings in July?
Yeah, I think the signings themselves were really exciting for me, and I wanted to make sure we were bringing in the best players possible, which I think in both Alice and Kenzie we found. I mean, you just spoke to their record right there of what they've
Yeah.
accomplished at university, and it is a priority for me to try to keep some Florida kids close to home and to get them to come and represent South Florida. So having Kenzie, having her sign was something that brought me an immense amount of pride. Her sister's local to the area, and I know she, like me, is happy to be around her family, and she's so excited to represent South Florida. Alice, I mean, from our first phone call, I was just blown away by what a wonderful person she was. And if you look at her record, her improvements from her freshman to her sophomore year speaks for itself in the work that she's willing to put in and develop as a player. So I'm very excited to have them both. We start qualifying next week as a team. So we're going to get to see on the golf course, what are we looking like out there? But, you can't have a better group of people. I can honestly say that the people that we have on this team is incredible, and we've got some really strong players. So Wisconsin's going to be a great place for us to start. It's a great championship golf course. It's got a good field as well. And I'm excited to get out there and see where we're at as a team.
Yes. So two questions. You were hired as, head women's golf coach at South Florida on June 3rd. So you've been there almost, 3 months now. And you're from Tampa, Florida. So, what did it mean to you when you were hired as the head women's golf coach at South Florida? And then 2 weeks ago, you hired your assistant coach, Avery George. So just tell me a little bit about, Avery, and, how you both will work together.
Yeah, I think, for me, I still pinch myself every day. I think it's a really special opportunity to coach at home. And with that, like it gives me a lot of pride, and it lets me put some very healthy pressure on myself to succeed because I am at home and I'm so proud to be from the Tampa Bay area. I think it makes me really excited to recruit here. I know as a Tampa Bay native, everything that Tampa has to offer, especially for young golfers who want to take their game and their career to the next level. We can practice outside all year round here. We have championship golf courses that we're able to play. And so I'm really excited to be able to go and recruit to South Florida. It's a place I know really well. And like I said, it was a place I grew up and I trained, and I know the benefits that I could bring our student athletes here. So, just an immense sort of pride being able to have this job and work in the community that I grew up in. Already this summer, talking to all the local golf pros, the golf community, the First Tee in Tampa. These are all people that I knew growing up, and being able to reach out to them, talk about the goals of our program, and feel the support from the community has just been incredible. And it's going to open a lot of doors for our team in terms of access to championship golf courses and the ability to go out and play these different courses that might look like the course that we're going to play on the road while we're competing. So that makes me really excited. As long, as well as having Avery, I think this summer, I had two big tasks ahead of me. It was filling our roster, and it was hiring an excellent assistant coach. And getting to know Avery throughout the interview process, she's someone that I did know from my time on the Epson tour. I was pretty competitive out there. I wouldn't say I had a ton of best friends out on tour, but she was somebody that I knew, and I really respected her work ethic and who she was as a person. She's a wonderful person. You can tell how much she cares about the student athletes within the first minute of talking with her. And that's somebody that I wanted coaching alongside me, someone who cared, someone who's an amazing person, a hard worker. And for me, it's an absolute bonus that she played at the highest level on tour, and she knows what it takes to get to that point. A lot of our players on our team and a lot of the people who we are going to be recruiting are people who have dreams of playing professionally. And the fact that we have two coaches on staff that have accomplished that, we know what it takes. We know what those sacrifices look like. We're able to help them along in that process. And once they turn professionally, I tell them, you're part of this Bulls family for life. It's not just your 4 years that you're here competing. It's after you turn pro, we are here to support you and help you in any way possible. And I'm happy that our assistant coach knows what it takes to get there and will be able to support me in that vision.
Nice. Well, your accomplishments are really great, Coach, which we'll get into. And I think, being, South Florida hiring you, I think that was great, not only for their program, but I follow college golf, and I think, it's one of the best, hirings in all of college golf this offseason. So,
Oh,
sounds
well,
like you're
thank
going to do
you.
great things.
Thank you. I
I
hope
think you have
so. We're
something.
gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna work our tails off to make sure that happens.
Yeah. So not to put any more pressure on you, but last year, South Florida had a record-setting season, winning 3 times. They finished in the top 4 in 9 of 10 events, and they made it to back-to-back regionals. So, how do you hope to, continue the success that South Florida had, last season and over the past few seasons? And, did you receive any advice, from Erica Brennan and, Coach Dalton Stevens, the previous coaches, when you were hired in June? Like, did they give you any advice how to continue the success at South Florida?
Yeah, great questions. I'll try to answer all of them. Remind me if I don't get to all of them, but
Yeah.
Erica coached me in college. She was the
Okay.
assistant at Tennessee one of the years while I was there. So I've always had a very friendly, good relationship with her. And she's someone I talked with her on the phone a couple times this summer. We're more friendly talking. We're asking about family. How's everyone doing? I wouldn't say so much into the advice category, but I think what her and Dalton were able to accomplish here, you can say maybe it puts a little pressure on this team, but for me, it makes me excited because they were able to prove what you're able to accomplish here at South Florida. And certainly we hope to keep building off of that. And we've got a very different team this year. And we have 2 returners. Everyone else, myself and my assistant here are new. And so for me, this is a new beginning of the team. And I'm excited to see what we are able to accomplish together. It's seeing what Melanie and seeing what the previous team has done. I'll already tell you, I can see it inspiring the girls on the team now. They talk about following Melanie at Q School this week. A lot of them have dreams of eventually going to Q School and playing professionally. And I think it motivates and inspires them. representation is so important, and then being able to see someone do something that are in similar shoes of them, I think it inspires them to work hard and try to get themselves in that position as well.
You mentioned Melanie Green, she's an alumnus now of South Florida and, one of the best amateurs in the world. She won the RNA Women's Amateur Championship this past summer. And I was looking, she's currently the 33rd ranked amateur in the world. And she was, the AAC Player of the Year last year. So, this is a big player to lose for your team. But how do you think you will overcome, losing, such an accomplished player like Melanie? And just, tell me, how proud are you of Melanie's accomplishment, as an alumnus of South Florida? She won the women's amateur championship. She's the 33rd ranked amateur, and she's, conference player of the year last year. So, just
Yeah.
for you, how proud are you of Melanie's accomplishments?
Yeah, so proud. I mean, she's an incredible person when you're able to talk with her. She represents South Florida with so much class, and obviously has been very competitive as a player and accomplished some incredible things this summer. And I think, we talk about, you lose her on the team, but what you gain is an incredible mentor to our players. It
Yeah.
gains inspiration for them to look up to and try to accomplish the same things that she did. So while you could say, yes, we've lost her, we've also gained an incredible human that is still going to set an example for our team and what you can accomplish here at South Florida. And what she's accomplished, it speaks towards her work ethic, but it also speaks towards the resources available at South Florida that you can take advantage of to set yourself up for that success. You've got to work hard and you've got to make time to do it. But with the resources here at South Florida, boy, you're able to develop, you're able to become a better player and set yourself up for success as a professional.
Coach, you come to South Florida after 3 years as assistant coach at Michigan. What did you learn from your 3 years at Michigan, working with Jan Dowling, the head coach there? And you got to work with some of the best, players and amateurs, in the country. Like we mentioned, Haley Borja and Monet Chun, who won her second Big Ten conference title last season. So, just what did you learn at your time at Michigan?
Yeah, I could talk about the players and Jan, but Jan was so incredible to work with for 3 years. And, I've, been a head coach now for a couple months, and there is a lot that goes into it. And I've begun to really see how much time and energy she spent on helping me develop to become a head coach. She involved me in discussions on, I mean, everything that we did as a team. And it really let me start to see all the little things that go into the decisions that she would make and how thorough she was in it. It really helped me. I think for this summer, I don't know if you ever feel prepared for the moment you become a head coach. There's certainly a lot that goes on the first couple months, but with her kind of mentorship the last couple years, I felt like I was in a pretty decent spot to handle it the best that I could. And, we had a ton of fun working together. She has an incredible work ethic. Nobody cares more about their players than Jan does. She's there for them, asking them how they're doing every day. And she cares when she asks them. And it really showed me what a great head coach looks like. And it was, I miss her every day, but it was amazing to have those couple years together. And I know she'll continue to mentor me and help me along as I develop as a head coach as well. And, speaking with our players, it's, Monet Chun, Haley. I mean, we had some Ashley Lau. She just competed at the Olympics. Jan had recruited some amazing players to Michigan. And, something that they all had was a great work ethic. I think Monet Chun was someone who her ability to wake up every day and just get to work on her plan, the plan that she knew she needed to execute to get better, would be an example for any athlete in any sport. So it was wonderful to get to watch them work and to listen to them dissect a golf course or how they think about practice, and just try to soak it all in and learn as much as I could from them.
Nice. Yeah, it's you mentioned, how Jan recruited some of the best players in the country to Michigan. It's interesting, how some of the best players are recruited to go to Michigan, where the weather there, especially in the winter, doesn't, scream golf. And now you're in a different situation where the weather is, golf all year round in Florida. So that's just intriguing to know. And also, it's I'm sure, working at Michigan, you learned a lot and it prepared you well for South Florida. So I'm sure that was a great experience for you at Michigan.
Yeah, it was. It was a crazy 3 years
Yeah.
up there in the snow as a Florida girl, but it's something that, I mean, helped me so much develop as a coach and a person. And I really, really am thankful for that time up there with Jan.
Yes, coach, as you mentioned, you played professionally, on the Epson Tour. You played in 35 events or so, and you made, 9 starts on the LPGA Tour in 2018. So just how was your time playing professionally, especially getting to play in the LPGA Tour? How was that?
It was a dream come true. I think, I'm very much a process person. I like to wake up every day. What do I need to do today to get better? And, I stacked enough of those days on top of each other for years and years of hard work. And, I remember the final round of LPGA Q school where I got my LPGA card. You go into the last round, you know exactly where you're at. And I don't think I slept a hour or two maybe before that last round. And it's you finish up, and I spent so much time in the nitty gritty of the day to day, and being able to finish that round and take a step back for a second and look at the bigger picture of what I had just accomplished was really special to get to do that with my coaches and my parents. And my time out there, I loved every minute of it. It's a hard life. It's a ton of travel. I remember one year, I think I did 8 weeks in a row. It's a lot of travel. You're away from your family and friends a lot, but it was incredible. I loved kind of getting to a new course each week and having to pick it apart to figure out what I needed to do well to be successful that week, and just competing. I love to compete, and it gave me that opportunity to do so against the best in the world.
So in 2020, you were forced to retire from, playing professionally due to a back injury, and you had, surgery. So, how difficult was this, when you had to retire due to injury? And, I heard, you say that you still had, your love for golf remained even though you had to retire due to injury. So, how difficult was this, retirement due to injury, and, how were you able to, keep your love for golf even though you had to retire due to injury?
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was a challenging time. I felt like I had my golf career taken away from me because of an injury. It wasn't a decision I got to make. It was out of my hands. I will say now I look back on it, and I don't know if grateful is the right word, but the way that things played out, it got me into coaching earlier than I might have if I'd have kept playing and been healthy. And I feel very, it's hard to find a word to really describe that, but it got me into this career earlier. I always knew I wanted to coach, but having to retire because of my back, it got me into coaching earlier. When Jan called me, it was the right time for me to make a move and to get into coaching. And I do feel lucky that it all worked out the way that it did. Certainly it didn't always feel like that in the moment. I probably would have been one of those people who was driving around in her car for the next 15 years, still grinding it out on the Epson tour. It's something I really love, but it got me on the right track for my coaching career. And I was able to meet my husband earlier than I probably would have. And I just feel very lucky that things have worked out that the way that they are.
Yeah. Yeah, they've worked out. So you played collegiately at Tennessee, where your parents went, your sister went. And your sister is currently the assistant coach at Tennessee. So just tell me about your time, playing at Tennessee, and also, what's it like to see your sister, be the assistant coach at Tennessee?
Yeah, my time at Tennessee, it was an absolute blast. It's like anybody going through college, you're a young person figuring out who you are, and you have your ups and your downs. It's, a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of hard work. You're away from your family for the first time. But it was an incredible experience. We had a couple really great teams there. It was really special. My senior year, my sister had joined the team by then, and we finished up at nationals down at the concession, hosted by South Florida, actually. And that was my last ever collegiate event, which was close to home for me. And I knew I wanted to get into coaching my freshman year of college.
Okay.
I followed my head coach around. I asked her questions. I was always trying to learn about decisions she was making and what does this look like being a coach. And I was constantly asking myself, if I was the coach, what would I do? So I spent 4 years kind of pondering that. And having a blast with my teammates. Last year was pretty special. We had two sets of sisters on the team, and we made it to match play at nationals. It was incredible. And now that my sister's there, I'm back following her team and rooting for her. It's pretty cool to have a sibling do the same thing that you do, coaching. There's not many people that are lucky enough to get to call this their job, and it's pretty cool to sit around at dinner every once in a while and get to talk about it with her. It's really cool, and I know we both just love to support each other and our teams.
That's interesting to know that, from your freshman year, you knew you wanted to become a college coach because, I've talked to lots of coaches and lots of them say that they didn't know that they wanted to become a college coach or that just, fell in their lap. But that's great to know that, from the get-go that your freshman year, you knew you wanted to be a college coach and you worked, with your head coach,
Yeah.
to gain
And it
the
just
knowledge
spoke to
necessary.
Yeah, it spoke to the hard work Judy did to make sure we had a great experience. And a great experience doesn't mean that everything's easy and just handed to you. She set us up. She let us know what we needed to do to be successful. And it was up to us to work hard to make sure we accomplished that. And she was just such a wonderful coach. She's someone I can still call now if I want to talk through some things with her. And I was like, wow, what a cool job. You get to help all these, for us, I felt like a kid at the time and help us kind of develop into young adults. And she did such a great job. I was like, dang, this is what I want to do.
So two more questions, Coach. You grew up in Tampa, Florida. As we mentioned, I'm sure you grew up playing with your sister, your dad, you mentioned. You started playing golf at Countryway Golf Club. So just tell me about, your start in golf, how you got started playing golf, and just tell me about, growing up in Tampa.
Yeah, yeah. So when I was younger, both my parents worked at the post office. My mom worked during the day and my dad worked nights. That way they didn't have to use childcare. And my dad would get off work in the morning and he'd want to go hit some golf balls to relax. And he'd put me in my little baby carrier. He had a minivan at the time and he would drive out to the driving range. And he said he used to give me French fries to kind of keep me busy while he was practicing. And eventually he cut down an old club and he wrapped some like electrical tape around the end of it to make a little grip. We've still got that somewhere in the garage, but he got a club in my hand, and I feel very lucky that he kept it very fun for me and he let me develop my own love of the game versus him trying to push me into playing golf. He just kept it fun. He'd give me a nickel if I chipped something in or if I made a putt. And we did that for long enough that, I decided that this was something I wanted to do. And I feel very lucky for that time with him. And Country Way, it was a par 3 course about a mile from my parents' house. They still live there now. And as a kid, like it's a kid-sized golf course. I think it's really important when you're doing something new that you make it easy to succeed. And it wasn't me going out trying to play this big golf course. I could go play this kid-sized golf course, and it made it easy for me to see myself be successful, which I think is important when somebody is learning something new so they can develop the love and the passion. You've got to feel a little bit of success to be able to do that. And so Countryway is still a place, if I'm home, it's the golf course I want to go and play. We just have so many special memories out there as a family. So it was, really neat. And eventually my sister came along and it would be the two of us out at their little chipping green, getting our practice in as kids. And, we'd go out and walk the course together eventually once we got a little bit older, and just so many fond memories out there.
So finally, Coach, what do you enjoy most about being a college coach? And, what does it mean to be back at home in Tampa, at South Florida as the head coach?
Yeah, I think, as a coach, right, I want to make people better golfers every day. I want to help them develop. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're preparing these student athletes for life after college and helping them develop not only as golfers, but as people as well, and helping them take advantage of the resources that are on campus for that. And, just being there for them through those 4 years of development. I think you're 18 to 22 years old, you're starting to figure out who you are as a person and just trying to be a good influence on them and help them navigate, the life that they want to have after college and how they can succeed at that. I think that's what gives me the most fulfillment out of all of this, is watching them grow up and become who they're going to be, which is, you see a lot of confident young women come out of college golf, and that makes me super proud of them, and that's really what fulfills me every day. And I guess just being in Tampa, it's really hard to put into words what it means. South Florida is such an incredible school. I was walking around campus yesterday helping a freshman. We're trying to figure out where to get her student ID and going to some appointments with her, and just being able to walk around campus and show her around. It was just such an incredible feeling to know that I get to coach the golf team here, and I get to recruit young women to come represent us with class. It really is hard to put it into words what it means.